Welcome back to Retail Therapy. My name's Will. Barrett Dudley, how are we doing today?
We're doing great, man. I'm a little tired, I'm ready. I'm ready for the break, but it is a Friday. Mm-hmm. Beautiful weather, sunny but brisk. Arguably my favorite. My favorite. If I can layer, but also be soaking in some vitamin D, that's truly ideal for me. Yeah. What about you?
Just hanging. Yeah. We've just been packing zines up for the last week or so.
Yeah, a lot of zines.
A lot of zines out the door.
What was that, hundreds of thousands that you sold?
Yep.
I think? It looks like, based on the photos.
New York Times won't take us into consideration for the bestseller list because it wasn't an official released book.
Here's the influence that the Sunday Scary zine is having. I'm passing it around Howler Brothers, being like, should we do this?
There you go.
So
there you go.
You know what I mean?
You can commission us if you want. We can do some work for you.
I might. The layout is nice.
Still some available, by the way, for the people at home.
Yeah. I had some soup for lunch today. It's Marry Me Chicken Noodle. And I made sure that it had tubetti regate in it. And that's because I am trying to be in consideration for Noodle Boy of the Year.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that I was getting my noodle intake up.
You got to lose some definition on your arms.
Yeah, I gotta lean out the arms.
Yep.
Yeah. But we have an awesome show today. Guest for the first time in a while. Should we is it time for the big intro?
I think we do it.
Okay. All right. Welcome Matt Pham to Retail Therapy, everybody. Matt is the creator behind Los Angeles apparel brand With a Beginner's Mind. And Matt, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys. Super big fan of what you're doing and grateful to be on the pod today.
Yeah. Let me just give a little bit of background on Matt.
Do it.
I kind of became familiar with Matt through like some mutual kind of online fashion forum friends. Shouts to Neil. But Matt worked at John Elliott. Do I have that? You were doing customer experience. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, started as an intern at John Elliott back in 2015. Pretty much did just about everything as an intern. I think the interesting thing about my story and how I know you as well as Neil and the Style Forum boys is, interned for JE for 3 months, did it unpaid full time, and then kind of John took a bet on me, gave me a full-time offer, and then I was there for 5 years.
So you had to go through the unpaid intern grind.
I did. It was crazy, man. I think at the time that was what I pitched to John. I said, look, you're my favorite designer. I know that my resume reads more as an accountant or someone who works in corporate, but love what you do, big fan of your work. And the offer that I'm willing to give is that I'll work unpaid full-time for 3 months, commuting from Orange County to LA, which for those that don't know, that's about an hour and a half commute each way.
Jeez.
But I pitched that I would do that unpaid for 3 months. And then John was kind of like, you know what? Like, I think that there's nothing for me to lose. I'll give it a shot. And honestly, my life turned around or changed a lot since then. But that's how I know a lot of the boys.
How did you get in touch with John to even do that?
Yeah, it's a crazy story actually. This was back in 2015. So the brand had been around for 1 year, maybe close to 2, and I just got let go from my first full-time job at PacSun, and it was a kind of traumatic time for me. I just graduated college, got a chance to do retail buying, which I thought would be a dream for me, a dream career for me. But 8 months in, got let go, and then I just decided, you know what? Like I want to try to give it a shot and see if there's any way I can get in touch with John. So emailed the info@johnelliott.co email. John's business partner at the time, Aaron Levy, responded, said, we don't have anything open for you, but check back. And I said, look, man, can you at least look at my resume? Like, I really admire you and John. And at that point, I'd probably watched every runway show, was lurking Style Forum like crazy. And kind of the rest is history. After I sent my resume off, I got some feedback, and then a few weeks, I think it was maybe like 6 to 8 weeks later, Aaron and John hit me back and said, hey, like, do you want to come in for an interview? And so came in and did my thing.
So put yourself out there is the moral of the story, right? Just send that cold call email, like just reach out,
I think that sending cold emails works better than just applying for anything. Like
I think so. And you can basically just guess anybody's email at this point.
Yeah.
It's usually just their first name at the company, or like Matt, you can just hit the info line, info at. But I love that. I love that you just went for that. And then you left John Elliott in 2020. Is that right?
Yeah, left John Elliott in 2020. I think that was bittersweet moment, but super exciting at the same time. I, got John's blessing and his support to start with the beginner's mind. And so around that time I left and started with the beginner's mind.
Yeah. And I think it was probably a couple of seasons into to with the beginner's mind that it probably Neil like sent me. I think the piece that really caught my attention was like the nylon bluson from a couple of seasons back, and I've kind of been paying attention ever since. And you just released your 6th collection, which for me I think is the best and my favorite to date. When it launched, I basically just like added one of everything to cart just to see what that would cost. Just like, can I? Okay, all right. But yeah. So season 6 of with a beginner's mind is out. We'll get to a little bit more of the current season in just a moment. But yeah. So we've touched on your background in fashion. I mean, you said, you mentioned graduating college. I also do I'm in a product development role with no real learned skill of creating, and now I think we've both kind of like bootstrapped ourselves in a way and kind of are self-taught. How did you begin teaching yourself to make clothes, to create clothes? Like, did you have, you obviously, you mentioned the PacSun job and the John Elliott job, and now I know you're full-time at Drew House as well. But like, what was that? What was kind of like the self-teaching process like? How did you find yourself on that, climbing that mountain?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, I've just always been a big product nerd, internet forum kid. And so the deeper and deeper I got into the internet, I just started to really fall in love with fabric, fall in love with construction. Then that led to a curiosity about, well, what are different sewing techniques to make denim as opposed to a t-shirt? And so it really just came down to being on the internet nearly 24/7 in my teens and 20s. And then that really forming my perspective, along with working at John Elliott, where I started to realize, beyond just the garment itself, there's a way to look at it for how it's constructed, for the fabrics that were sourced, and just how everything was composed together. And so a lot of it has been, as you mentioned, self-taught, and just something that I've picked up over time as just really critically looking at what I'm wearing, and not just how it makes me feel, but starting to question, why is it constructed the way that it is? And then just going into a rabbit hole of the nerdiest things, like, the differences between garment dye or fabric dye, or reading about single needle stitching versus chain stitching. And it's really informed my perspective, but definitely would say, yeah, just all came about from being a big nerd, caring about clothes beyond just, how it made me feel or how the garment looked itself.
Did you have like friends that were into the same thing when you were in your teen years and kind of falling into that wormhole, or was that something that you just kind of did on your own and now you found yourself here?
I had a few friends in high school that were really active on the Hypebeast and Super Future forums. They're no longer around like they were back in 2010, but a lot of my friends and I were super into Japanese raw denim, and so we'd spend all day and we're also, keep in mind, broke at this time. We're in high school, so we'd spend all day on the want to sell sub forums and just trying to find steals on raw denim, and we just would fall in love with the concept of wearing raw denim in an untreated state, taking a shower with your jeans on, and then just praying or really wishing that after numerous bike rides and maybe even sessions sleeping with your jeans on, that you'd get crazy fades. But it all started with a few friends of mine loving raw denim, and then just like doing the most to really get our jeans to fade. And it was crazy because our parents would be like, admittedly, back when I was a teenager, my mom would do my laundry, and she's like, "Why are you telling me not to wash
Yeah,
your
please
jeans?"
wash your jeans.
Yeah, and she actually ruined my first pair of nudie raw denim by washing it, but I'll save that for another time. But yeah, everything was really inspired by my friends who loved raw denim, and then I kind of just followed along with them, and it became a journey of just understanding garments and falling in love with fashion as a craft.
I mean, important question. Did you ever achieve crazy fades?
I did, man. I did. And so after my mom ruined my first pair of nudie jeans, I ended up getting a pair of pure blue Japan jeans and then samurai jeans.
Okay.
And these are just like Japanese reproduction denim companies that are still around today. I think you can find both at Blue and Green Soho. But needless to say, I did fade, quite a few pair of jeans. And I actually had a blog at one point that was called boyinjeans1.blogspot.com, and I would pretty much document myself in jeans every day.
Okay.
It's pretty crazy looking back at just me taking photos of my jeans, but also seeing them fade over time.
I tried a few times. I've always been such like a collector, and that it requires such a commitment to wear a single pair of jeans essentially every day and nothing else.
Yeah.
That I never really got all the way there. I think I had a pair of Rag & Bones that I still own. I don't love the fit anymore, but that was my like the closest that I ever got. And there's some pretty nice like contrast and blues, but I never got those like crazy honeycombs or anything like that. It's probably because I, unlike Matt, don't live in Southern California, and I was never able to run into the ocean as APC directed you to do a real beach salt wash.
I remember after I got my first pair, I was like, I was inspired to do it by somebody who I thought had pretty good style. And so I bought a pair, and I just remember like having a day off and being like, well, I guess I'm going to walk around in my jeans around the house all day. I guess I'm going to take a bath in these things for a little bit, and just being like, if someone knew that I was spending the day bathing in my jeans, they'd be just disgusted by me.
Did you have like friends that were also, when you were in Michigan and working at the high-end retail store,
Yeah.
did you have like homies that were also into that stuff? Because I never really did. I've always felt like I was on an island with it.
I had some friends, and then I feel like I never fell down the menswear forum hole, which I wish I would have. But like
I mean,
was
your wallet is probably happy that you didn't.
Yeah,
Exactly.
probably. I was so in tune with like the home side of things and kind of the women's side of things, because that's what I was selling, that like anything that I started to get into, I would toss it around with like a couple of my buddies, but it was like very targeted when I would do that. It's like, I know you're going to like this, so I'm going to talk to you about this.
Matt, was there, when you kind of decided that you were going to go off and create your own brand, was there like any one thing that kind of inspired that? Was it wanting to make a specific item, or was it just the challenge of striking out on your own? Like, what would you say kind of was the real push to go out and do it?
Yeah, I think I had at the time it was 2020, and so just right around the pandemic, I reached a point where I was kind of questioning, like, I don't know, I kind of relate it to like a relationship, but I was starting to realize like I really love clothes. I'd been working in it for quite some time, and every few years I'd kind of have this moment where I was like, what's the reason that I'm still working in fashion? Like, has my interest or love for it changed? And if so, how? And so around 2020, I was still working at John Elliott, had also worked a retail stint at Mohawk General Store. So I was doing 2 jobs. And I mentioned that because that was kind of my moment to say, if I really love fashion, I'm going to do the most. I'm going to work 7 days a week and just really try to, find an avenue to connect with people, but also just learn about clothes literally 24/7. And around that time, I started to realize, like, you know what, like I've been working now on the retail side for a really high-end boutique, one of my favorite boutiques still in LA. And I'd also been working more so on the customer experience business side at my dream company, John Elliott. And it just got me to question, like, I think there's something that I haven't done yet. And especially as a, GARMS enthusiast, I was like, here I am critiquing other people's designs, but admittedly, I don't know how to design. And so that moment in the pandemic really kind of woke me up, and it made me realize I have more free time now. I had a friend at the time, a mentor that would always tell me, if you ever wanted to learn design, I'm happy to teach you. And so it was kind of the perfect storm. Like, I realized I had some time. I also realized that I wanted to see what it was like to be a creator rather than just saying, hey, like, this design is not cool. I don't think it's nice. And so I wanted to be on the opposite side of that, and took the opportunity to learn design. And that's how I started with the Beginner's Mind in 2020.
Today's episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. Isn't it funny how the people we love most are often the hardest to shop for? Luckily, there's one gift that everyone on your list is sure to enjoy: an Aura digital picture frame. Named #1 by Wirecutter, Aura Frames make it incredibly easy to share unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. And when you give an Aura frame as a gift, you can personalize it and preload it with a thoughtful message and photos using the Aura app, making it an ideal present for long-distance loved ones. It's a gift so special they'll use it every single day. My parents, Barrett, give me so much crap if I do not update the app with present photos.
You better update, especially around the holidays.
We have just now acquired our second Aura frame because we've enjoyed the first one so much. It's going to be set up in our bedroom and not our kitchen, so we can have one all the time. Yep. It's a very exciting time. But even though I like it, anyone that I've gifted it to, which has been a lot of people, have liked it even more. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver Matte frames by using promo code CIRCLING at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code CIRCLING. This deal is exclusive to our listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions do apply.
Quick break to say, if you're listening along now, it's withabeginnersmind.com. And if you want to go check out the Instagram and look at some of the recent posts and see the clothes styled, it's at With a Beginner's Mind. And on that note, I want to ask you about the name, Matt. It's so hard to name things. Brand names are so... I always find that really, really difficult when I think about, this type of stuff, for whether I was naming a podcast 6 years ago or, when we were trying to name this one, thinking about if I was ever to strike out on my own, what I would name my brand. And so I'm going to quickly read a little bit from the kind of the mission statement about the brand that I got with my t-shirts today. With a Beginner's Mind is my medium to storytell life experiences through clothing. This brand stands as a testament to embracing continuous learning, mindfulness, and gratitude. I love that sentence. I like it. It gels so well with your story and what you're doing and how you've kind of landed in this position. Can you tell us anything about like kind of how you came to the brand name? What any fun stories behind that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I was first starting to develop my first garment, which was a pair of jeans, I realized, okay, at some point I'm also going to need to figure out a name. And at first I was like, maybe I could call it Matt Pham. I mean, that's how John Elliott did it. That's how Michael Murray did it. That's how big designers do it. But then I started getting a little bit nervous and also admittedly a little bit insecure. I was like, wow, like this is my first design and I'm already calling it Matt Pham and, kind of going out with an eponymous line. And so it kind of felt weird to me, and I sat with it and I was like, what are some words that I really like? And then I started thinking about our legacy, and I was like, I can't call it that, but when I really think about the term our legacy, it's actually quite a great name, just speaking about, garments that stand the test of time and that you can pass on. And so I was like, okay, maybe I want something that sounds more intentional. And so started thinking about my journey within fashion. And then I realized, what's the through line that has made me go from this unknown kid, which in many ways I still am, this unknown kid that loved the internet, loved fashion, but didn't know anyone, to eventually working at my favorite designer. And I realized the through line was I kind of approached this with a beginner's mind. And so that really stuck to me. And I realized, what I really want to do is beyond just showcasing my designs, I also want to try and inspire people to pursue their passions, because doing design, doing fashion didn't really fall on my lap. I didn't have anyone other than the internet to really show me around. And so my whole ethos and idea is to continue approaching what I do with the beginner's mind, and also inspiring others to take that mindset and apply it to whatever they're interested in, because ultimately I think everyone has a gift that they can pursue. It's just a matter of whether or not they feel confident to nurture it.
Yeah. You said that you were unknown. I don't know how much longer that's going to be the case. I saw the Street Night Live repost yesterday. I had to quickly go. I was like, oh my God, is it all sold out now already? That was pretty cool. So just to kind of use that as a segue, I think all of us can probably relate to like this idea of like starting something, being new at something, having a brand, and then kind of competing with some feeling of imposter syndrome. You're out in LA, there's tons and tons of fashion and brands out there and people starting things every single day. How do you kind of like, how do you convince yourself, and how do you tell yourself, and how do you fight that imposter syndrome? And how do you kind of differentiate between every kid that wants to be a creative director and screen print a t-shirt? You know what I mean? Like how do you make sure that you're elevating above that in a way? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, to me it does. You're not asking me.
I think it's a valid question that any creative, whether it's through the discipline of fashion, art, whatever it may be, goes through. And for me, it's taken a lot of reflecting, and that's kind of in line with the ethos of the brand, which is I'm constantly reflecting on who I am, trying to better understand my strengths and also my weaknesses. And definitely imposter syndrome is something I still feel. I think a lot of times I have to catch myself from self-sabotaging and realizing, there's a purpose why I'm doing something. There's a reason behind it. And I've started to really own what the story is that I'm trying to tell, and just being confident that as long as I'm being true to myself and not trying to be a replica or a copycat, if you will, of another brand, then I think that people will resonate with it, because I view fashion as being twofold. On one hand, it's the garment, which is, more of the commercial side, obviously the tangible thing that people can own from a brand. But on another side, it's the brand building and it's the storytelling. And I think that if you on one hand have the storytelling, on the other have the garment side down, then really you're able to build a product that is unique to you. And it's just all about how you storytell that to the customer. And that really differentiates you from other creators. And yeah, just lastly, I think to your point about, it's true. Everyone in LA is a creative director. And you had asked me, how I wanted to be addressed. And I still struggle with how to address myself. But ultimately, I think with everyone wanting, at least in LA, to be a creative director, I think the main thing is just, are you actually putting in the work, and do you have a genuine passion for it? Or are you just trying to go viral and live the life of, let's say, Ruiz from Rude, which is on a PJ from one day to the next.
Yeah.
But in reality, your PJ is going to, going to Hertz and just renting a new car every other week.
Yeah. We still haven't figured out how Ruiz is living the lifestyle that he's living, to be completely honest. And I asked that question more, not because like clearly, like I think Matt and Wabam have elevated well beyond that. It's more of something that I kind of ask myself, and I feel like it's that storytelling aspect. It's having something to say. It's having a vision, kind of something kind of concrete in your mind that you're kind of like executing and kind of aiming for. And I think that kind of having a real North Star is like a huge thing that you clearly have, that for example, myself, I've never been able to put my finger on exactly what it is that I'd want to say with something.
Yeah. You know? I kind of operated similar to you when it came to like, I needed a creative outlet, 12 years ago. And when I came up with Sunday Scaries, I was like, well, I'd much rather write under the name Sunday Scaries and like not have to have like my entire being be like the front facing part of it.
Yeah.
And then for me, like things that helped get me over that were like just the little victories. Like if I would, write something and I saw that 30 people were reading it, I was like, oh, that's awesome. 30 people are reading this. I remember I launched a t-shirt and 20 people bought one. And I was like, I just sold 20 t-shirts. Like, did you have any small victories along the way that just like made you feel like even more fired up to continue what you're doing, or just anything that sticks out that might've just been like, oh, okay, this is why I'm doing this?
Yeah, it's really similar. It's really similar to what you said, Will, which is It's super scary to be vulnerable, especially, not even especially, but it's always scary to be vulnerable. I think on the internet where you reach more people, you can be in your head about, if I say something that is honest that maybe I could tell my friends, but not necessarily share on the internet, will people think less of me? But what has really kind of fired me up is just being able to be myself on the internet. As I want to act the same in person as I want to act the same online as I am in person. And what's really fueled me is just people reaching out saying, what you're sharing really resonates with me. It feels really authentic. I've had similar experiences in my own life, dealing with XYZ that I've approached with gratitude. And I just want to let you know that you're on the right track. And that to me has been really comforting, because on one hand, I sometimes feel like, okay, a designer's life is really glamorous. You got to be eating at Erewhon. You have to have a nice luxury car. You have to be going out all the time. But what I've realized is I just own who I am. And I'm really grateful that over time, people have really gravitated towards it, such as you two. And over time, it's just really magnified into having a tight-knit audience of people that really like what I'm doing. And I'm someone that values quality over quantity in all aspects of life.
Yeah, the truth is, for anybody thinking about the career, is that the early stages are, as you're experiencing, Matt, an absolute grind. It is not easy. A lot of headwinds, a lot of competition, and it takes a while before you are eating at Erewhon every day and rolling around in the Rolls Royce truck.
My friends got annoyed that I was like, no, I'm not going out this weekend. I'm just working on Sunday Scaries this weekend and hanging out. And they were just like, really? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just into it right now. That's what I want to do. And it was just like a very natural thing that I had the realization also that I was focusing on the wrong things in life. It was just okay, are you trying to find someone? Are you even happy with yourself? Do something that's going to fulfill you a lot.
Yeah.
And then your life will change just by doing something that's fulfilling to only you for a little bit and stuff. And I feel like anyone that started something has had that feeling at some point where it's oh, I can get a lot of gratification out of this and not the things in life that I've just been doing out of habit, like going out or whatever.
You have to get gratification and satisfaction from dedicating yourself to that. Otherwise, you won't. You won't be successful. And I mean, I'm working full time and doing 2 podcasts a week, and I think that's sapping all of my energy.
Oh yeah.
Matt is over here full timing it and has a complete full brand.
Yeah, where's your line, Barrett?
It's not happening. But speaking of lines, let's talk a little bit about this new collection, season 6. Matt, it seems like you're kind of growing little by little. You can check out all the collections on the website. Season 1, it was just the denim. Season 2, it's sweats and a tee. We're on season 6 now. Is this the largest season yet?
This is the largest season yet. Definitely the most styles that I've dropped. There should have been 2 more styles that dropped with the collection, but I just didn't feel that it was the right time to release them. But it's the largest collection yet, one that I'm super proud of. As you mentioned, season 1, I launched denim. Everything was made overseas. And with season 6, I wanted to reintroduce denim, but to bring it back to, really shining the light on made in LA denim. As you guys might recall, in the 2000s, LA premium denim was a really huge staple and a really huge trend. And
yeah.
Being from LA, I wanted to call attention to that, where I still think that we are a top manufacturing place for denim. And so season 6, largest collection, reintroduced denim. And super excited about just the ways that I'm continuing to scale and able to work with what I have, but also develop garments that I feel are unique and provide value to the customer.
Yeah, you mentioned the denim. You've got the boxy denim jacket. That's actually the item that I saw Street Night Live post yesterday. Looks like it has a really, really cool fit, and I hear people on your Discord talking about it already. I think I have here the 3-pack of wardrobe tees, which I'll talk about in a second. But I also just want to shout out this cropped long sleeve polo sweatshirt, which I think is my personal favorite item from the collection. And I missed out on the small already. So if if that is something that you like, I think you should probably act quickly for any listeners out there. But yeah, okay. The wardrobe tee, I went for the 3-pack, and if you get a 3-pack, it comes in what Matt is calling a t-shirt sleeve. And I had an idea of what this was going to be, but like seeing it in person, and if you're watching us on YouTube, then maybe you'll be able to see a little bit of this, is so sick. It's like, Matt, what's the fabric here? Because it feels amazing. It's like a soft, but like substantial kind of is it nylon cotton, something like that?
Yeah. So the outer side of the sleeve is made with nylon fabric that's actually dead stock from season 4.
Okay.
And then on the inside, you have a Japanese cotton poplin that is also dead stock fabric from season 5. And so my idea was really to create some kind of travel pouch that you could place the Wabum tees in for when you're on the go. And the best part about it is that, as with most designers, you over time end up with a lot of leftover fabric, and it's like onesies and twosies of things that you can only make a little bit with or almost nothing with. And so my idea was like, I have leftover fabric that I can't really make enough jackets or pants for, but I can make something else out of it. And so that really birthed what I'm now calling the t-shirt sleeve.
And so this is I think onyx nightshade and white in the t-shirts. Really incredible fit, very, very modern. It's got a cropped, but it's not like super boxy. Sleeves are slightly shorter. I cannot wait to wear these. I went true to size, which I think will be really nice for layering. But I think you could probably also size up if you want a little bit more of an oversized fit and less of a crop. I think if you've been listening, to the first half hour of us talking to Matt, you know that this guy is detail oriented. And we talked about raw denim. And so the shoulder seams here, as well as the side seams, are basically like the, what did you call it? The butterfly seam. It's like the train track style stitching, which I think is such
you got that right. So it's the train track stitching that you see on the out seams of denim. And I really wanted to take that DNA and put it into a t-shirt. And so that kind of goes back to just being a nerd. It was thinking about, obviously a t-shirt shares some semblances to denim, but not quite. But I want to add a little nod to my love, which is raw denim, and put that into the design construction of a t-shirt.
Yeah. If you're a clothes guy, you're gonna love all the little details like that. It's the small little things that.
I mean, my first exposure was the tote bag that you got last season.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
And that the reason that it kind of picked the interest was the small details of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It would. I actually forgot to talk about the tote bag.
Yeah.
A little bit. You had a denim tote bag with a bunch of exterior pockets and kind of not necessarily like a unique shape, but in a shape that I think was very much designed as like a full-on carry-all. You could put a lot of stuff in it. And I was super drawn to it. And it seems like it kind of caught fire a little bit because as soon as I bought one, it seemed like a bunch of people did, and they were sold out. But having this tote bag, Will and I have been wanting to create a very specific tote bag. Matt made an incredible one for With a Beginner's Mind. And so I reached out to Matt, and Matt, Will, and I, and your coworker or partner Jenny have been trying to create a co-branded tote bag. We have, as mentioned, this is an industry where you face a lot of headwinds. There are constantly production issues or design issues, or somebody tells you, oh, you can't do that because of X, Y, or Z. So it's we've hit a little bit of a delay, but yeah, that's I meant to talk about that up top, but we're hoping to collaborate with Matt in 2025. I think we'll be able to finally put something together. But
the fire in my belly has not gone anywhere.
Yeah.
There we go.
When you're putting out a new season, I'm sure there's things that you look forward to doing. Is there anything that you just like really are just like, oh, this is my least favorite part of doing this?
Yeah, I got to keep it real. When it comes time to packing orders, I'm having to tell myself, it's not that I have to pack orders, it's that I get to pack orders.
Yeah, that's a good reminder.
Yeah, it's me reframing into gratitude, but admittedly, I'm fulfilling orders out of my warehouse, which is the same as my living space. And first week that collection drops, again, so grateful for everyone's support, truly. But as a one-man team packing orders in my living room, it's madness. It takes me a really long time to pack orders. I still love to include notes in every order, so I get cramps that I think may one day lead to carpal tunnel, but it's worth it. But I would say, my least favorite thing would have to be packing orders, because there's a way that I want it done and there's an aspect of gratitude that goes into it. But it's the nitty gritty of my apartment becomes a tornado where I am running from one room, grabbing the order, printing out the label, slapping it on, writing a note, and then rinsing and repeating that process numerous times. And really a fun fact about the boxy denim jacket actually is, this is part of me just being a denim nerd, but at the factory level, because it was a raw denim jacket, the factory didn't quite press the raw denim, which means they didn't steam it in a way where the creases were preset. And so for anyone that's bought that jacket, I have pressed every single one by hand.
Wow.
And that doesn't mean I've formed the honeycombs or the whiskers, but it just means when you wear the jacket, there's a natural way that it falls on you. But with raw denim, it looks really blocky because it's so stiff. But I've pressed that into each and every jacket that has been purchased. And so needless to say, fulfilling orders is a joy, but also something where I'm like, one day I can't wait to change this up.
I feel like you'll be there soon. It's at least there's a little bit of light at the end, light at the end of the tunnel there, because it does suck to pack orders, but I do quite enjoy dropping them off at the post office.
Yeah. When they're finally dumped into like a
giant,
it's just like, get these away from me and get these in the hands of the customer, and let's have everyone be happy, because I mean, it's so exciting to sell a bunch of stuff, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna be packing for the next few hours tonight. This is gonna be a long night ahead of me. There's like a nice little sense of pride walking into the post office, and they like see how many packages you have, and they're like, oh, you got to go around back. They bring out one 100%. Of those big, like, what do they call them? They're like I can't even remember what they're called, but they have some weird name that only people that work at the post office know about. So, Matt, I'm going to use the t-shirt sleeve, because I think you said this was maybe inspired by like Jill Sander or Mason Margiela that had done something like this before. And I love kind of listen to you or read what you say and the interactions that you have in your Discord or on Style Forum. You've always been very open about kind of like brands that you're paying attention to, where you're getting inspiration from. I really enjoyed how you styled with like Arlie and Our Legacy for season 6 here. But something that I constantly think about when it comes to all of this, especially when you've got your own brand or you're working for a brand, like how do we kind of like differentiate between inspiration and homage versus like copying or ripping off? Like how do you approach that? How do you say like, how do you pull things that you love and then kind of diffuse them into your to your own language?
Yeah, I think part of it is really just owning it, which is when I first started designing, I remember John mentioned to me and he said, there are going to be times where you want to add your signature twist or your own take on something, but I also want to remind you that it's okay to have references or a set of brands that you like to use as a starting point.
Yeah.
And so I've really gotten comfortable with that and realizing that for me as a designer, I'm one part designing clothes, but two telling a story. And so I would say the way that I differentiate or pay homage is that I will figure out how a garment really relates to the way that I see my customer dressing or the way that I see myself dressing. And second to that, usually I would say there is definitely a reference for what I like for fit, and then there may be tweaks that I want to make. But in this day and age, I would say really the main differentiating thing is one, the story, but then two, it's just the little small details that you can add. And so it would be looking at a jacket and maybe saying instead of 2 chest pockets, I just want 1. And although, that may seem like definitely in the start, it's like, is this really a unique enough take? I've started to realize, and especially with Virgil's Legacy, that there is this concept of the 3% rule.
Mm-hmm.
And fashion and the way that information is shared now is just so information spreads so quickly that I think the main thing is just being honest and true to the references or the things that you're inspired by, and then second to really owning it. Because I think the last point that's worth sharing is in the 90s and early 2000s, fashion was really avant-garde. It was really high end. But I think the things that a lot of designers like Margiela and Helmut Lang really struggled with, which is why they left their brands, is that they were creating art, but they didn't know how to commercialize it. Now looking into the late 2000s to present, we're seeing a shift from creating something that is unwearable but cool to something that is see now, buy now. And so I think with that, the concept of design is just more about approachability. And with that, it's, you know, making garments that can be worn, and it's okay to reference with that, because I think different than times past, you know, no one, maybe not no one, but I will say for myself, I don't want to wear a bubble wrap zip jacket. But I know that Helmut Lang really loved that idea. But in this day and age of designing clothes, I think it's more about designing for a customer and making something wearable. So if that means drawing from a reference, just own it, be confident. And at the same time, I would say just, be honest. Don't say that this is an original design when everyone, you know, when people can clearly tell that the two side zippers on your hoodie must have been from the Hooded Villain.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's such a weird thing, because we like, and I speak from experience at Howler. Like, we watch some other brands clearly like pull references from us, but every brand ever, every designer, like, they have mood boards. You can only be like you're inspired by what gets created out there. You can't help but see that stuff, and everybody that's kind of like in this business likes clothes. They like to put stuff on. They like to put that shit on. Will
they do?
And so we have stuff on our mood boards as well. I think I love the idea of like being honest about it. And then I think what's important is, like, even if you take the side zippers off of a John Elliott Villain, it's like then you putting it in your brand. And so if your brand is kind of like it's your sum of parts is kind of what ends up saying something different, even if the individual things may have kind of come from somewhere else. But there's no IP in fashion. You cannot trademark the cut of a garment. You can't trademark a plaid. You cannot. And so it's always this, it always kind of fascinates me, because, like, you can sue over a logo, and Nike has had success, going after people for the shape of a shoe. But once you get into cut and sew and garments, that is extremely hard to do, and nobody can really protect their stuff.
Yeah, I think as long as it's not blatant, and again, you're honest with it, then it's fine. Because I think on the other hand, it's like, whether it's on your mood board or not, there's so many images that we see just scrolling or in our everyday life that, even if it's subconsciously influenced, we're just always surrounded by photos and inspiration. And so it's inevitable. And I think for that reason, it's hard to have IP within fashion. So if someone does copy and you feel some type of way, I guess the best form of return that you could get is calling them out on Instagram, and then just getting a lot of people to follow you and rally behind you. So that's energy in one way as well.
Have you ever done that, Will? I know you've thought about it.
What? Just
go in on the comments, just like come in for somebody's throat, just
If there's like a snarky comment, sometimes I'll fire back at people, just because I think, like, if it's such an outlier, it's like, I'm just gonna have some fun.
But on
right
some
now.
of the brands that have like ripped the Slim's laptop.
Like, the way that I operate is that, like, it's like you were saying, like, it's when you, like, it's so difficult to take ownership over things that change so quickly. And when you're working in like online or digital media, it's like everything changes so quickly that if you come up with something that people enjoy, then you kind of just have to let them enjoy it. Because if you don't let them enjoy it and you start getting angry about it, then it's like, well, if you're going to put something out in the world and people are going to enjoy it and you don't get any enjoyment out of it, what's the point of it all?
I mean, in a lot of ways, like, memes are very much the same way, right?
But
like,
memes and clothes are the exact same thing.
Once you create something, it kind of it's other people's almost. It's hard to trademark that. So it's nice that
it's just never going to stop people from doing something.
A format and people love it. What can you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just if you create something and you put it into the world, you kind of have to understand that people might, if they enjoy it enough, then there's going to be some
They might copy it.
mimicking, and that's fine. And like, there's probably a lot of things in life that I've done where I could have, tried to trademark something and do it, whatever. But it's like I've just always operated under like, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
If it's tired, it's tired, and
Yeah.
if you're tired of it, then just move on. Don't care. Don't get upset. But it took a long time to adopt that mentality. Today's episode is also brought to you by Mugsy. Mugsy makes damn comfortable clothes for guys everywhere. They started by reinventing the jeans game in 2015, and now they make the best jeans, chinos, tops, and joggers ever. Wash Media has worked with Mugsy in the past, and we've really enjoyed everything about them. If you've ever been in one of their stores, you know that they're a lot more than just a jeans company. They work exclusively with some of the best designers and manufacturers around the world to deliver the finest quality fabrics directly to your door. Their entire goal is making guys more comfortable at work, at the bar, on the course, wherever, by giving them one place to shop. They're made with buttery, soft, stretch, patented materials that look stylish but are insanely comfortable, never too baggy, never too tight. Please go check them out. First-time customers can get 20% back on their first order right now. All you need to do is head to Mugsy.com, enter your email, and the discount is automatically added to your cart. Again, that's 20% back on the only jeans and pants you'll ever want to wear again. Free shipping and free returns on every single order, so the only risk is never knowing how great they truly are.
Speaking of headaches, Matt, you mentioned that this collection was supposed to be like one or two pieces larger. And I think I read from a post of yours that there was maybe going to be a thermal. How difficult is that to like get something in, not have it live up to expectations, and then make that decision that it simply can't be released?
I was losing sleep over it.
Yeah.
At the point where I realized it couldn't be released, it was actually after I had already received all the production units, and so started to receive them, and I just kind of realized like this was the design that I really believed in. But part of just me learning as a self-taught and designer going through the fire is that different fabrics sew differently, and so the waffle was I really love the waffle style, but during production the sewers kept saying that, as we're sewing the waffle, it stretches. The fabric keeps stretching. And I was like, I think you guys are just saying that. Just keep sewing it. Like, I think it's going to be fine. And once the production came, I started speccing a few of the units, and I was like, why does a size medium in one unit fit different from the other? And it was because depending on the sewer who was making it, if they applied a different amount of tension from a different sewer than a different sewer, you might result in a garment that is slightly bigger or smaller than the next unit. So got everything in, and I was kind of losing sleep. So this goes back to just always learning, is I started going on TikTok and YouTube and just Googling waffle knit fabric. And I started to realize like, oh, like the sewers were right. Like there is this thing about waffle knit fabric where it not only stretches a certain way, but when you wash it, if it's a certain type of loose gauge waffle, it shrinks. And so, that was a tough learning for me, but I really kind of just come to realize that part of these brand building moments are realizing when to not release something and kind of view it as, in the long run, in the bigger picture, this is part of the learning.
Yeah, it'll pay off later. Yeah,
because I was so sad at first, but I guess by the grace of Instagram, I came across a post that said something to the lines of, on my way to my first 10,000, I lost $1,000. On the way to my first 100,000, I lost $10,000, and just to keep going at it. And so I realized, it was really painful to lose that, because I was like, I could have bought myself the Prada jacket I've always wanted, but instead, just scrapped the thermal and took it on the chin as a learning.
Well, let's talk about what's next. Have you begun season 7? Are you already sketching things out and sampling and doing all that type of stuff?
Season 7 has already started. I wanted to give myself a little break, but then as I've well, every day as I think about Wabum, I think about what's next. And so with season 7, I'm actually looking to redevelop the way that I have been doing the brand, which is, I think, to speak more generally, like my whole approach with the brand was to make well-made menswear items at approachable prices.
Yep.
And so whether that meant, just being candid, whether that meant me taking a margin hit or me having to redevelop something so that it wasn't too expensive. That's been ethos that's been really exciting for me. But I think as the brand has grown, I've also realized there's this customer who has this desire for really premium, expensive product, and they wouldn't bat an eye if I made expensive products. And so it goes into the imposter syndrome. When I first started, I was like, who would ever buy my designs? But now as I've grown a little bit, I'm like, okay, there is a customer that is actually like, if you made a $300 jacket, as long as the quality was there and you're pretty open about how you're making it, I'm all in. And so in 2025, season 7, I think the one thing I can drop is that I'm going to start differentiating the brand between what I would call more like foundation pieces, which are more mid-tier, and then entry level, which is more accessories. And then really what I'm focusing on is more of the top tier. And so I'm a huge zipper nerd, and you'll see in 2025 the debut of Wabum and Lampo zippers. So,
Okay, all right.
Yeah, here comes the $30 zippers.
Yeah. Zippers can be, I mean, what, 10 to 30? I mean, how much is a Lampo zipper? Does it actually cost $30?
Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. It's a Lampo zipper is between $25 to $30, depending on the size of the zipper and the length. And Riri is also similarly priced. It's really expensive. It's like super dorky to put that on your garments, but I really do think that when you glide a Riri or Lampo zipper, there's a butter effect that it creates this feeling that for me makes everything worth it, makes life great.
I do feel that's like such a great note for those just kind of unfamiliar that a trim like that can cost like the maker of the product $30. Mm-hmm. So you just imagine like what that does to the price of a garment. I feel like that type of, I definitely think that people that are looking at kind of contemporary and luxury goods may not totally understand that something like that can so quickly add to the price of what it costs you to make it, and then that obviously gets passed down to you. So I think that is wild that a zipper can cost $30, but.
Yeah, I have a new appreciation for my good zippers. I'm going to go home and give them a little pat. I've got I'm not going to name any names, but I have a garment that I've acquired in the last year that it's a pricey garment. Mm-hmm. And the zipper is just terrible. And I'm like, it's so frustrating to me that everything about this is so nice, but I struggle to zip it up every time I have it. And it's just like, $30 in that price range was probably nothing to them when they were creating that product, but it does make a difference, and like it's something that sticks out to you, and something that like now that you shine light on it, like it's a new appreciation that I think a lot of people could have.
So Matt, you may already be creating this product with talking about maybe going a little bit kind of higher tier or higher price point on your next collection. But I wanted to ask you, like, what is kind of the ultimate dream pie in the sky product that you would like to create? Like, is there something out there that you just like, man, I really want to make like a double-breasted fur coat or whatever it might be, but what's kind of like, is there some type of grail that you hope to create someday, or maybe that you're working on for a collection in the near future?
Yeah, I would say my grail would be making salvage denim jeans. Okay. And so that for me would be super exciting. Something that in season 7 I'll be doing would be wool trousers. And so super excited about that, have access to sourcing really nice wool. But I mean, those are products that I would make on behalf of, well, obviously Wabum, but if I think about a pie in the sky grail thing, it would actually be collaborating with another brand on creating a product. Because I think the exciting part about that is digging into a brand's archives and being able to really craft a design that fuses not only Wabum, but also, pays respect to the brand that I'd be collaborating with. And so something like Macintosh really interests me. Black means, I mean, admittedly, why John and I got along so well is a lot of the brands that he loves are ones that I grew up loving as well. And so I think those would be two I'd be excited about. Just a collaboration with a specialist in another field, whether that's leather goods or technical goods.
What about footwear? If you could have a Wabum X, fill in the blank, what signature shoe would you cook up?
I would want to do, if I wanted to be true to myself, I'd want to do Wabum times New Balance.
Okay.
I think obviously they're great. Teddy's done a great job with fabric options, with the way that he's revitalized New Balance and made them casual but cool. That would be one for me. And then I think one, just as my attempt to be more relevant, and also I would say do something that's kind of pie in the sky, would be Wabum and On Running.
Yeah,
I think that would really, I see what Loewe is doing with On Running, and I think it's pretty outrageous. You have, I haven't seen it in the wild, but basically the customer that they're trying to target is a customer who's willing to spend $500 for athletic shoes.
Yeah.
But I think there's something baller to be said about that. And I think it's pretty exciting and interesting as well. It just, I don't know, it's kind of a flex. But if it were to be another piece, I'd want to do just anything with Vibram. Just using their soles. I think that's like a Riri to me, where I just freak out every time I see Vibram on the bottom of my shoe.
Yeah.
I think that's a common feeling.
On maybe making an appearance later on this podcast when we get towards wishlist. Speaking of New Balance, Randy, get ready. Matt, did you fill in the 1 year pre-order for the Aimé Leon Dore dark green 993s today?
No, I didn't. But last week I entered the raffle for the Aura Lee New Balance, and I checked all my emails, and I think just Haven didn't. It must have reached spam.
Yeah, maybe it went to spam.
Notified that I won.
Yeah, we were actually having a little text, a little sneaker text that pops off sometimes with Will and one of his sisters-in-law, and she grabbed one of the pairs of ALD 997s recently, and I gotta say. I meant to text back about this, but there's a New Balance store on South Congress here in Austin that inspired a recent wishlist item for me. Really nice retail concept as well, and I don't know if Teddy has had any influence over that, but being in that store was surprisingly nice and elevated, and it made me, I was interested in New Balance already. I like what they're doing, but it really sold the brand even further for me. So I think that's a great call out. Matt, you obviously, you work for Drew House. You've done John Elliott. You're creating your own line. So I know you're paying attention to a lot of what's happening out there. You got any trend predictions for us in 2025?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I have some hot takes.
Okay.
I think in 2025, and I'd love to hear your guys' takes after, but I think in 2025, we're going to see a return of menswear where it's skinny jeans, Balenciaga arena shoes, or Saint Laurent high tops. We're going to see the return of longer length tees. And I don't know, I think that we're going to either see the return of skinny jeans, or we're going to see the return of not what Abercrombie is currently, but what they were previously, which is essentially hypersexualized prep. And
wow, okay.
I think we've reached a point, at least maybe I'm just on TikTok too much, but I think this fashion generation has already consumed menswear, salvage denim, and heritage so much that really the only way the pendulum can swing is back to skinny denim, which seems to be what the early adopters are starting to return to.
Wow. That is that would be shocking news for me. I know,
me too.
I know you're not the only person that's out there saying that. It's crazy because in the heyday of the skinny jeans, I would look down and I'd be like, how could I ever wear baggy pants again? This is so sick. I am never, ever, ever going back. And now I put on my comfortable baggy denim and I'm like, what the fuck were we doing? I can never go back. So I know that in my mind, I will eventually convince myself to go back the other way. It's only a matter of time. It's so, in these early stages, it is so difficult to wrap your head around.
I mean, I have a wide variety of pants and how they fit.
Yeah.
and I will put on one pair and I'll start wearing them more and more, and I'll start skewing away from the other sizes or, fits that I have. And then I'll like put on a pair of jeans that are like not as baggy, not as voluminous. And suddenly I'm just like, oh, like these, like, how was I wearing such baggy pants before? And then like I just do that normally.
Yeah.
It's like hard for me to just wear different styles in like one season. And so like flip-flopping over years and different trends, it's just like, what a headache.
Yeah.
What a headache.
Yeah. You got any trend predictions, Will?
Oh God.
I'll launch one out there. Well, if you want to think for a second. And I tried to call this like 2 years ago, and I think it sort of happened, but it was like the return of like the button down shirt, basically. Like we've been in like the flannels are heavy, and we've done shackets a million times over. And what I kind of was expecting to see is like the return of like, like a Oxford cloth button down or something like that. And that, with MF Pen and Our Legacy, like there's definitely been that kind of like dressier shirt come back. But I still haven't seen it a lot. I've seen it produced, but not adopted so much. And, I know, let's see, like 18 East has pushed that. Aaron Levine's new brand just did like an Oxford cloth button down like that. So that's one thing that I'm continuing to look out for, is kind of like the return of like basically the nice shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
Like I would love the return of just like not casual.
Yeah.
Just like a further distancing from the casualness that we all kind of adopted starting in COVID. I'm not saying everyone has to dress up, but just like the care that it takes to put something together. Like, I don't know. It just, there's something, I don't want to say it's lazy, because like, I don't feel lazy when I just dress down and dress casual, but I like the idea of people just trying to dress up a little bit higher, more than they do. And like something like a nice shirt, like a nice button down or something like that. I can see that working.
Yeah. And then I'm also going to continue to ride for, I put this on the fall in list. I had boots, otherwise known as shoe boots. Basically this idea of like something in between like a derby or an Oxford shoe and a boot. And so the Row does a shoe called I think it's called the Nobilis that is very ugly, but I really, really like right now. And then I also I keep going back and looking at the Doc Marten Lowell shoe, which is like this like very chunky mock toe, almost like it's either like a boot with no shaft or a boat shoe on steroids type of thing. And between those two shoes, I think in spring we'll definitely come back to daintier footwear, sneakers, sandals, espadrilles. It's hard to really branch out when it's very hot. But I think as 2025 goes on, I'm definitely looking for the continuation of the shoe boot next year.
I think you'll like my wish list item this week.
Okay. All right.
I think you'll like it very much. Before we continue, let's hear from our friends over at Early Bird CBD. If you're not familiar with Early Bird, they're gummies that are a recreational hemp product that contain around 2.5 milligrams of natural THC and around 12.5 milligrams of CBD in each gummy. Barrett, last weekend I went to a concert.
Yeah.
I took 2 of these. I enjoyed the concert so much, and I was so cozy the entire time.
How about this? I included a little 3-pack of Early Bird CBD gummies in my office white elephant. They got stolen twice.
That makes sense.
People wanted these.
We have such a close relationship with our friends over at Early Bird that, we have our moments where we can take it at any time. I haven't even told you this, Barrett. I think when we drop the sweatshirts next month, I think we're including a sample pack in each of the orders.
Wow. I thought you were going to tell me that you were on Early Bird CBD gummies right now.
No, I'm not. No. I could be. Who knows? Am I?
But I like that. I sure like that idea.
There's so many different use cases for them. So whether you're going out or just trying to have a cozy night in, just go try these guys out. Get 20% off your first purchase with promo code RT20 at earlybirdcbd.com. If you've purchased before, these codes are brand new. So go load up your cart. Again, that is RT20 for 20% off at earlybirdcbd.com.
Matt, community is a really big deal for your brand. It is for Sunday Scaries as well. I think there's like a lot of shared ethos between what you're doing and what we're doing. There's a lot of self-care. There's a lot of relaxation. There's a lot of kind of being true to yourself is something that I know you've talked about a lot. And with that, I'm going to let Will pepper you with some questions about your Sunday routine and how you kind of combat your Sunday Scaries if you still get those.
All the time.
Every day. What is your ideal Sunday outfit?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say my ideal Sunday outfit would be a oversized t-shirt, probably
a tall
my
tee.
favorite would be an LA Marathon t-shirt that I thrifted. Then I love wearing sweatpants or French Terry shorts. And then paring that down is it's a little bit bummy, but I really like wearing Hoka recovery slides. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
for my
That's very Sunday
to really
Scaries.
Oh, yeah, you're
combat
killing
the
this.
Anxiety. I'm just dressing down all the way.
I love it.
Keeping it really easy.
Do you drink coffee?
Every day I have coffee right
How do
next
you-
to me right now.
How do you take your coffee?
I like drinking cold brew, and if I'm feeling a little bit adventurous, I'll add a splash of milk.
Okay. Do you have a Sunday comfort meal? That could be just a meal that you would enjoy eating for dinner on a Sunday. It could be a hangover cure the next day, or just anything that just kind of feels like a Sunday meal to you.
I really, when I have the time, I really enjoy eating sukamen, which is dipping ramen.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, thick ramen noodles with a really fatty pork broth, and it kind of complements Sundays because after that, I'm in such a crazy food coma that it kind of helps combat the scaries because at that point, I just am horizontal after the meal and able to doom scroll and get my mind off of the following day.
Wait, so this is dipping ramen? Is
Yeah,
that what you-
they have it at
Yeah.
Ramen Tatsuya.
and what's the difference between that and like a more standard traditional ramen?
They give you the noodles on the side,
Okay.
and then you
Okay.
just dip them
And you
into the
dip-
broth.
Okay.
And so, like, if you put a regular ramen, it's probably still a little fatty. Like, if you just put like a normal ramen in the fridge after, and you're going to revisit it the next day.
Yeah.
If you do that with, I see, I've been saying it incorrectly for this entire time. Sukemen? How do you say it?
Sukamen.
Sukemen. And so, but if you put that in the fridge, it's going to come out like
Yeah. Oh,
like a
gelatinous the
solid,
next
yeah.
day. It still heats up pretty well, like
Yeah.
the next day. But yeah, it's you dip the noodles in, and
I got it. Austin has some good ramen. I imagine that LA is like heads and shoulders.
Gotta be
above
crazy.
us. Yeah, gotta be some crazy good ramen out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy meal. I'm not gonna lie. One of my friends had sukamen for the first time, and he threw up after because it was so fatty.
it's so rich.
so rich.
You can't drink the broth. Like if you finish all the noodles, you can't just go drink the broth. Like
Yeah,
that might kill you for the day.
What about are you burning any candles, or
Ooh.
incense, any scents that you're liking right now, Matt?
Ooh, I have not burned any scents in a while. But typically I like Hinoki scents. I'm not really sure what scent this is exactly, but my favorite Byretto scent is suede, and so whatever notes are in that, if I could, that's what I'd be burning. But these days, I'm just at the apartment, just no scents.
Do you have a go-to Sunday television show or movie that you might put on and get cozy to?
Fun fact about me, I watch neither TVs nor movies.
Love
but
it. Love it.
My form of media is doom scrolling TikTok and Instagram, as if the content changes every second, but I'm still scrolling, refreshing the feeds on both. nonstop.
You mentioned doing like some research on fabrics on TikTok, and so is there like a good is there fabric talk basically? Are designers talking about
Stitch talk?
cut and stitch talk, or are there designers talking about cut and sew on there?
There are a few, but I think when I get really deep into it and I'm typing things like double needle versus single needle stitching, the videos that I'm watching maybe at most have 10 likes or less.
Okay.
But it's just deep cuts on the internet that I fall in love with. It are I wouldn't say random, but just the creators who are nerding out over cloth.
Sweet.
What is your hold on, I have one more before I get to your ideal Sunday. If I opened your fridge right now, what would I find in there?
That is a great question. You would find cold brew coffees. For some reason this week, I decided to buy both regular cold brew and decaf. I've just been wanting coffee at midnight, but also wanting to sleep. I know it's considered a waste of money, but you would find, decaf and normal cold brew coffee. You would find a lot of stuff from Trader Joe's. Recently, I just went to buy some turkey patties, some cheese, vegetables, and you would find a lot of condiments too. I'm a huge sauce fiend, and so Kewpie, mayo, ketchup, aiolis, ranch, teriyaki sauce. You'd find quite a lot of random condiments if you were to open my fridge.
Let's see, whenever I interview someone that lives in New York, they're like, nothing. Just nothing. What's your ideal Sunday look like?
My ideal Sunday, it would be waking up, feeling good. So that means ideally not drinking too much the night before or not at all. But it'd be waking up on Sunday, going for a nice run, ending up at a coffee shop, paying $8 for, I guess, what I call LA coffee, but it's really good. Going back home, chilling, maybe watching some football, and then, just kind of hanging out for the rest of the day, which means being horizontal, going at whatever pace I want, maybe seeing a friend, but taking it real slow.
Matt, who's your NFL team? LA has had such a mix of teams over the last couple of decades. Who are you rooting for these days?
Yeah, this one will surprise you, but my favorite team is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
Really?
Huge Carson Palmer fan.
Yeah.
I grew up watching him
well,
at
he did go to
USC.
USC. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up watching him at USC. So, I mean, that's pretty dated because obviously he hasn't been there for several years. But yeah, I'm a huge Bengals fan. And so that's the team that I root for. And this year has been a little bit
rough one.
Heartbreaking to say the least. But that's part of being a fan. I'm going to hang in there and hope that next season is better.
Yeah. Well, I would feel okay if Joe Burrow was my long-term quarterback.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
y'all will turn it around.
Thank you. He's a good guy.
Should we talk a little? Should we do a little bit of aesthetic, pop culture trend of the week here?
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Let's talk Noodle Boys.
Yeah, let's talk Noodle Boys, Matt. Just to really, bring you into the fold on an episode of Retail Therapy, we got to talk. We got to bring a New York Times article, up here. And look, we've been through a lot of men trends in 2024. We had the rodent men.
Mm-hmm.
We had the return of the hunk with Glenn Powell.
Mm-hmm.
And now to close it all out, we're entering our Noodle Boy era. And this is essentially, I'm going to call this like a twist on Baby Girl. Because it's you don't have to be a Noodle Boy to be a baby girl, but it helps.
Yeah.
But
I think they have a lot of, the Venn diagram has a lot of crossover when it comes to the two.
Yes. And I'll just to give you a brief synopsis here. As an era of macho politics sets in, sinewy stars like Timothée Chalamet, Dominic Sessa, and Mark Eidelstein embody a slinky alternative image of white masculinity in American pop culture. And just to remove the politics from it, what we're talking about here is skinny, lanky dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Timothy obviously is kind of like, man, what a month he's had here. So he's kind of leading the charge here. But basically, just guys that they've got slender arms. They're not getting huge, and maybe they've got something a little like androgynous or Pham about them, and they're noodling it up out there.
I mean, have you thought about doing ultra narrow sleeves on your next t-shirt drop just for the Noodle Boys?
Make everyone look buff.
Matt, who's your favorite Noodle Boy out there right now?
I mean, I think the first one that comes to mind is definitely Timothée Chalamet. He is the GOAT for a reason. But another one which definitely a lot of my coworkers and just women in my life talk about would be Jacob Elordi.
Yeah. Thank you, Randy.
I think that would probably be my favorite Noodle Boy. Or a funny one recently I've seen is, I think you could just find Noodle Boy lookalikes all throughout LA, and so maybe just being like, if you just having a Jacob Elordi lookalike contest and bringing all the Noodle boys out.
I saw a photo of Jacob Elordi on a yacht recently, and I think he qualifies as Noodle Boy.
He's slender. He's slender.
A lot of people will say that's why he didn't get the Patrick Bateman role, is because they just didn't think he could hunk it up enough.
Well, my dad told me for a while, like, you know, when I'd give him shit all the time for wearing the same aviator sunglasses his entire life. Like, never. I think he still has the exact same pair that he's had his entire life, and he'd always be like, "No, there's gonna be a time where this is cool and stuff." And that's how I've approached my arm workouts. I've just been not working my arms out in preparation for this moment where the Noodle boys can really shine through.
Matt, you are in LA. You're right there. You're in La La Land, Hollywood. Like, how does well, I've kind of got a two-part question. Are there any celebs that come to mind that you really, really love their style and maybe you'd love to see Wabam on? But also, like, does being in LA and like being like that close to like the celebrity life, like, does that influence anything you do at all?
I think if you were to ask me this question years ago, I would have an answer. But these days, I'm just trying to be tucked away and low key.
Yeah.
So outside of going to Erewhon every now and then for the $20 smoothie.
Yeah. Gotta get one.
Yeah,
of those.
I would say I don't really keep up with LA celebrities, so I'm not really sure. I guess who I'd want to see in Wabam, because these days I'm just like I want to be maybe in LA, like adjacent to it in Pasadena, but low key enough that I'm not running into people.
Yeah.
So you haven't envisioned the Wabam old man photo shoot that all the hype brands do these days?
I mean, that's actually on the rise. I think there's I can't remember what brand, but Essence did it. They brought
they've got an old model.
Oh
now.
yeah, he looks great.
Yes,
I love that dude.
Yeah. I think that's the route I would go. It definitely was swagging it up in the photos.
Well, I mean, just to bring it back to the cold emails, I'll just shoot a little message to jacob@elordi.com and just be like, hey, let's get some Wabam on you, man.
Yeah, we can probably make that happen.
Yeah.
He's aware. Should we wish list it?
Let's wish list it up, man.
Do you want to start? Since you already teased yours a little bit.
I will start. Okay, so here's what's happening. I have I ordered something from Dover Street Market, New York, and they botched the fulfillment and they oversold it. And they
You're having an issue with this lately.
They couldn't send it to me, so I have a 20% coupon to Dover Street, and so I have been like, it's not like it's not a shop that I was like really really hammering. It wasn't like in my rotation of like I got to always check the new arrivals there, but now it is. Dover Street Market is sick. And they do a ton of collaborations, and this is one that I didn't even know to expect, but they have an on-running shoe collab with a silhouette that I was not familiar with. I was not familiar with the game of the Cloud Boom Zone. And it's a beautiful looking white running sneaker. And on the medial side, it just has a massive Dover Street logo on it. And it's a little bit ostentatious, but like Matt said, it's a flex, man.
See, you're gonna walk into the gym and you're gonna be the meme and just be like, they don't know that it says Dover Street on the inside of my shoe right now.
That's right. But they're about half the price of the Loewe joints. So that's why I'm like, like this is basically just the regular price of an on-running sneaker at $220.
Oh yeah, that's just a high-end, nice running sneaker.
Also, I look. Speaking of 2025 trends, I mean, it was a 2024 trend, but I don't think running is going away necessarily. Do I need to start running? Should I start running?
Don't ask. I don't know if I'm the guy to ask.
Now that Noodle Boys are in and we're all leaning out, getting like thin arms, like I think running is maybe here to stay. So if I got these Dover Street Market on Cloud Boom zones, maybe I would be willing to get out there and start jogging again.
I can go.
Let's hear it.
Well, while we were in Tennessee recently, I was wearing a lot of my D-Mate boots that I got from Huckberry.
Yep.
And some people were asking about them, and I wasn't sure if you could still get them. So I found my way over to the D-Mate site, and I fell in love with some boots.
These are spoots.
These are spoots. These are certified spoots.
They are certified spoots.
Yep. I don't know why I like these. Probably because they're just green and have purple laces, and that seems to be a trend, as Matt knows with me right now.
Yeah.
And so like these are the tote bag version of the
Dude, we gotta get
The
these for the
schboots.
for the photo shoot.
Yeah, we
you
might
know?
need to get some. The issue, D-Mate, they make a great product. They are just they're quite expensive, but
Yeah.
they're-
Well, if it's for the photo shoot, it's a write off.
I think it says Vibram on the bottom though, so we got
There
that
we
going
gotta
for
buy
us.
it now.
From Huckberry, I have a pair of Cornaros, but they're brown and black, and they're like a little too. I like them, but the more fun colorways of the Cornaros like hit harder. For some reason, I like if you're gonna do the Cornaro, I like the cooler colorways, not the more traditional ones.
Yeah, I was wearing boots to dinner, like higher boots, and I was like, I just wish I had something that could serve
not suffocating your ankle.
Yeah, exactly.
Enter the Schboot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shaboot season.
They're over there on the left.
Okay, I'm running the thing today. If you're watching at home, man, Barrett's so much better doing this than I am. I'm assuming these are the ones.
Yes, Randy, great work. Great work. Sorry, Randy. I would have helped you out more had I known that you were doing that.
Hey, all good.
Matt, what do you got for us? What are you adding to your wish list?
Yeah, it's something that I saw recently and fell in love with instantly, except for the $1,000 price tag. But recently, Prada came out with a sneaker called the Collapse. It's pretty much a low-profile, almost ballerina
flat.
slipper.
Yeah. I saw these. Yeah,
and I think that has been something I've really gravitated towards, like a low-profile shoe.
Yeah,
and this checks all the boxes for me. It does come with a very cost-prohibitive price tag, but doesn't matter what color. I'm hoping Santa will drop them off next week to me.
Okay, yeah, prayers up for you on that one. I hope so too.
They've got some good colors.
Yeah, well, this fits perfectly into what I was saying, like spring, summer. Which for these brands we're entering the season. I think dainty shoes will be back for we're getting our.
You've been calling dainty shoes.
Yeah,
for
we're
getting
our dainty boys on. But then as soon as August rolls around, boom, back to boots. Yeah, these are something, Matt. Maybe in the collection 7 lookbook, we'll see if the product
I see them in the styling. Exactly.
All right. Well, this has been an awesome hour and 15 minutes. Matt, so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for doing this. Any closing thoughts, Will or Matt?
No, thank you, Matt, for coming on. I know we've had meetings in the past and stuff, but it was very fun to dive into to your past and now your present too. So I'm glad you came on.
Go check out Collection 6 with thebeginnersmind.com. Pretty much everything is still available except for the hat, which I do hope to see a restock of in season 7 because I will buy one. Just really awesome stuff. I'm so happy with the t-shirts. I can't wait to wear these this weekend. And what a fun pod. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It was fun just chopping it up, hanging out with the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll have some updates on the tote bag Q1 of 2025.
We'll talk next year.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
All right. See you guys.